And welcome everyone to the October Longplay Recap. This is where we're going to recap all the long plays we've been playing over October, and there might be a few spoilers, so I'm just letting you guys know. First of all, we'll start with Wario 3 on the Game Boy Color. We've managed to unlock the ability to swim by collecting the flippers, and we can also break blocks with the newly found spiked helmet. We also had to fight two bosses. One of the bosses was Shoot the Rabbit, which we had to shoot in a soccer net, and the other was a Wolfen boss, which is some kind of spirit monster, and we had to reflect his summon minions back at him. And finally, we picked up our second music box to close out our session of Wario Land 3 for this month. And after that, we follow with Mega Man Legends, where we start off with a boss fight against the Marl Wolf. And defeating him gives us access to the Class A license, which allows us to access the sub-gates that are small dungeons that contain upgrades and other things we need to progress through the story. In the first sub-gate that we open with the help of Roll, we find the spring boots, which allow us to jump very high. We also find Mega Man's iconic helmet, which protects him from extra damage when he gets knocked down. We also managed to repair the boat, which allows us to reach the next sub-gate, but first we need to take care of the next boss, which is the Balkan Garret. After dispatching the boss, we managed to reach the sub-gate, get inside, and find a giant refractor shard, which will allow us to repair the airship. And with said airship, we can finally manage to reach the unreachable subgate, and that's where our story ends for this month for Mega Man Legends. Following Mega Man Legends, we have Baldur's Gate 3. We start off our session with our main character fighting off the goblins that are attacking the Druid Grove. After taking out the goblins, we also help Bard find her groove, and we also kick a squirrel to death for no good reason. Finally, we save a girl from an assassin and get enough experience to gain a level. And so with said level, Chad decides to go with a Druid subclass. So now our main character is triple classing Cleric, Druid, and Bard. Seems like this character will probably not be the best of the party. And speaking of party, we can now hire hirelings, which the chat will do. We're going to create 3 characters. One is a cleric, one is a bard, and one is another cleric. With our newly formed party, we managed to take out an owlbear. We also ran into some harpies, but unfortunately we could not save the child. Following that, we found a book with a face on it that we don't know how to open yet. We struck a deal with some ogres that we found along the way. While exploring the caves, we run into our toughest fight yet, a giant phase spider. After defeating the giant spider, we run into a little mishap, but after fixing that, we enter the Underdark. And in the Underdark, we find the key to the book we found earlier. We try to explore its secrets, but unfortunately, we're not able to explore them fully. And to wrap up Baldur's Gate 3, we run into this little fella that we're going to have to deal with in our next session of Baldur's Gate 3. The Simpsons Hit and Run is next, and this was a pretty short one. We just needed to finish the final missions, and we managed to do so, but it was pretty difficult. This game is insanely difficult, especially at the end, where everything gets in your way. Thankfully, we got it done, and we'll never play this game ever again. Continuing on, we have Might and Magic 6, where we start off in the Devil Outpost, where we needed to clear it out to complete a quest. After that, we went to Garrick's Forge to look for the Hourglass of Time, which we needed to do another council quest. And with those 2 council quests completed, we now have access to the Oracle, which seems to be some kind of giant supercomputer. Unfortunately, the computer does not work. We need to find 4 memory crystals. And so we head to Castle Darkmoor to find one of the memory crystals. The only problem is, it's filled with liches. And liches love to remove your magic protections, so it's really annoying. But fortunately, we managed to get it done and get one of the 4 memory crystals. And to wrap up our Might and Magic 6 session, we go to the Supreme Temple of Ba, where we find another memory crystal. Following up from Might and Magic 6, we have Salt and Sanctuary. In this session, we managed to fight and defeat many bosses. First off, we have the Tree of Men, and then we knocked out the Stench Most Foul. We also took out Ronan Kran, followed by the Bloodless Prince, and finally, we took out the Dried King. Unfortunately, once we reached Siam Lake, things didn't go so well. We ran into the Witch of the Lake, and the Witch of the Lake was probably our hardest opponent. She took us out quite a few times. But in the end, we managed to defeat her and progress to the Salt Alchemancery, where we found our next opponent, the Unskinned, who was kind of a pushover after our last boss fight. That led us into the next area, the Crypt of the Dead Gods, where we fought the Forgotten King. And there was a reason why he was forgotten, because he posed no challenge at all. And talking about no challenge, we ran into a Dragon 2, who was also dispatched pretty easily. All that led to the final area of the game, the Still Palace. And there we fought the final boss of our playthrough, the Nameless God, who wasn't too bad. He was a lot easier than the Witch of the Lake, though. And so ends the playthrough of Salt and Sanctuary. It was pretty enjoyable for a little 2D Souls-like. I'd probably recommend it if it was on sale, or, you know, if you're looking for something different from the usual games. Now, for a little change of pace, we're going to be talking about Super Paper Mario. At the start of this session, we encounter a new character that's going to join our party, which is Princess Peach. And just like other Mario games, she keeps her floating ability, which will prove useful in the upcoming stages. We also find the Pixel Boomer, who, well, blows up and destroys walls and other debris that get in our way. At this point of the story, we're looking for Pure Hearts, and the next one is in Merle's Mansion. However, we get into a little mishap, and we get a huge amount of debt that we're going to need to work through to get out of here. After spending a few minutes in the giant hamster wheel, we managed to pay an informant to give us the passcode to the vault where all the money is stored. It turns out, after paying off the debt, that Mimi was not who she said she was, and that she was holding Merle captive. And after defeating Mimi, we saved Merle and got the Pure Heart to end the session of Super Paper Mario. Coming up, we've got 2 more games to go. The first one is Yakuza 5 Remastered. And for this one, I'm going to be fairly brief about it because we did mostly submissions and mini games like fishing, and we did a lot of baseball, especially a lot of baseball. And we also helped out our weapons trainer Ayano Koji to become, I guess, a bit more normal. And wrapping up our Yakuza 5 content for this month, the only story part that we had was Shinada, our main character, getting cold feet and was trying to run away from his problems. Next up, our final game will be Phantasy Star II. There was a whole lot of story that happened in Phantasy Star II. First off, we were in the Biosystems lab, where we were trying to stop the monsters from taking over the planet. At the end of the Biolabs, we encounter Nay First, which is the evil counterpart of one of our main characters, Nay. Nay tries to fight her alone, but unfortunately gets killed in the process. After defeating Nay First, the Biolabs and climate control explode. And since the climate control is busted, the planet is now flooding, and the only way to stop that is by opening 4 dams to get rid of the flood and save the cities on the planet. Once we open the final dam, we get captured by the robots of the Mother Brain and sent into outer space. And then we get saved by a space pirate, who then informs us that a planet exploded. Palm exploded. And then the space pirate informs the party that they can find an ally on the planet Dezo. But unfortunately, they don't have a ship to get there. After coming back home, they meet up with their captain, and he informs them that there is a spaceship on the rooftop of the building, and they can take it to get to Dezo, which they do. And once we reach Dezo, we find the man we were looking for, Lutz, the character from the first Phantasy Star. And that wraps up all the playthroughs we've done in October. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was pretty long to do, but hopefully in the future I'll get this a bit more streamlined and a bit more earlier as well. On that, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.